Hello and welcome to another How to Succeed podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague, Director of Community Engagement here at Sandler. And my guest this week is Alon Zaibert. He is an expert of emotional relevance. We're going to find out what that means and a whole lot more here this week on the podcast and see how you can connect better with your clients, prospects, people around you. All good stuff we need to know all the time. As always, the podcast is brought to you by Sandler, the worldwide leader in sales management and customer service training. And you can find more information at Sandler.com. You can find Alon at AlonZaibert.com as well. We'll link that in the show notes below. And this is it. It's how to succeed how to succeed with emotional relevance with Alon Zaibert. Here we go. All right, Alon, tell us about emotional relevance. What is it and why should we be paying attention today?
Oh, wow. First, thank you. Wow. What an intro, Mike. Good to be here. I like the vibe. A lot of people confuse emotional relevance and emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Right? Emotional intelligence, the EQ. Emotional relevance is a close cousin. I am proud to be the founder and inventor. I own the term emotional relevance, so trademarked it, and it's awesome. Developed the whole methodology around it. My focus is, even though it applies to life as well, my focus is to relationship with clients. And my passion is, a lot of people talk about how if your client trusts you, if they want to do business with you, they're going to open up to you more. I took that to a methodology and to another level. Harvard recently released a study they did, talk about the 21st century sales, and they talk about how 85% of referrals and recommendations are going to come from people you like and people who like you. Okay, they basically say that all business is going to be based on relationship. Okay, and so I'm glad I'm not the only one who says that. So emotional relevance in a nutshell is a little cycle, if you think about it, where I call it emotional anchoring. If we're developing a relationship with our clients, we talk to them, we meet with them, we communicate with them in different channels. Every now and then, without even noticing, what I'm talking about is be proactive and notice it and actually create it. But we go through emotional experiences together. You see, Mike, when we go through an emotional experience, we remember it. It's engraved in our mind. If I ask you, where were you, I don't know, when you got your university acceptance letter, or where were you when Kobe Bryant, when you found out about Kobe Bryant that he died, or for the elderly of us, where were you when the Twin Towers got hit? If I ask you these questions and ask you to, for a second, close your eyes and think about it, I can guarantee you'll know who you were with, what time of the day, maybe what you were wearing, a lot of details, because it's engraved in our minds. If I ask you what you had for breakfast last Tuesday, you have no clue unless you're in a crazy diet, but that's a different podcast, right? So if we remember when it's emotional, why not take it to the relationship with our clients and create those emotional anchors, emotional experiences? Now, they don't have to be as, grandiose as somebody dying or, acceptance letter. Could be little things. Okay. So if I go through an emotional experience with a client when we talk, maybe we just shared that we both experienced, we went to yoga for the first time over the weekend, and it was an interesting emotional experience. It's engraved to a certain level in our mind.
Yeah.
Here's the interesting piece. A week later, on a follow-up email, hey, it was great talking to you. Here's what you asked for. By the way, did you go to yoga the second time? You trigger that emotional experience. And when you do that, it's engraved deeper in our mind. Okay, just like I asked you right now about Kobe Bryant, if I ask, you relived that experience. Now think about it for a second, Mike. Think about the power of this approach, because if you are able to create a sensation of experience with your client, and hopefully you want to create a positive one, okay? Every time they hear your name or think about your service, or they see something that gets them to think about something related to your world, that emotion is being triggered, and they relate to you in those sensations.
Yeah, I love that. And there's two reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast today. Probably more than two, but here's the top two for the Sandler people listening out there. Number one is in today's world with AI and robotic selling, if you can buy it on Amazon or if a robot can sell it to you, it probably will.
Yeah.
But I think the seller's job of the future is to be emotionally relevant. It's to approach with empathy and relevance and humanity that the robots and AI cannot do. The second reason was that we talk a lot about selling to emotions and pain and gain here at Sandler. And I think sometimes when we bring up the pain and the problems that they're experiencing, if we don't put them back together before we leave, they can sometimes associate us with those negative emotions too.
Absolutely.
I'd love to talk about maybe the flip sides of that coin, pain, gain on emotional relevance in our sales call. But do you have any thoughts on the first one as we think about AI selling and the modern seller, where sales will be 10 years from now? I feel like emotional relevance is the only job then.
If you think about some of the most complicated services and solutions of any one of your past clients that they were selling, what would it be? Let's I don't know, software, which is a product and a service, something really complicated, 9 months, 12 months, 18-month sales cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the most complicated thing, I'm not talking about NASA, I'm not talking about, but, complicated solutions that take a long time to sell. Commercial real estate, right? Takes a long time to sell. It's complicated. Sells many to many. It's not one to one. Whatever as complicated as it is, in today's world, if you think about it for a second, take whatever vertical you want. Take the top 3 to 5 leading companies in that field. The service itself, the product itself has been commoditized.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this one, maybe they have those 2 features and these guys have those 2 features. Fine. Okay, we have a leading company in one vertical for a few years, but then the others, are kind of at par in a way. You get the top 3. The service itself is being expected by the buyer. It's becoming table stakes. That's it. You have to have all these things. We don't even dive deeper anymore. It's expected. The product is expected to be at that level. Okay, if you're not there, you're not even competing. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what is the differentiation? The differentiation is that trust. Okay. So maybe AI will be more impactful on, tangible products. Okay. Maybe some, off the shelf where you buy online. But where you need to have, where you have the relationship, where you don't buy off the shelf, this is where the biggest impact of that. And that, I'm sorry, I don't think it will ever go away. I was last week with a client who asked me to come and help them interview somebody, okay? High-level executive sales. And I got to tell you, we met online, one-on-one, one-on-two, one-on-three, few times. And then we met face-to-face. Nothing like it. By the way, different than what the perception was online, okay? Different. So I truly, truly believe, and there's tons of studies around it, Mike, tons of studies. Look, I want to say something important. We as humans need the sense of belonging, the sense of being hugged, the sense of, we're animals of packs, right? We roll in packs. We go together. We need that. Not want, need scientifically. Okay.
Yeah.
If you know your client is human, they need that as well. Create that. Okay.
Love that. So, now let's talk about the second part, because I think you nailed it. We would second all of that. I think people keep mistaking the virtual interactions or like this digital conversation we're having right now is better than not having a conversation, but it is never going to replace or be better then an in-person conversation if we can make that happen. Now, when we're talking about the emotional relevance of our products and the problems they solve or the benefits that they give our clients, how can we be most relevant and use that emotional relevancy for a positive and not for a negative against us or to manipulate our prospects? We want to, get to an honest outcome here and the truth and trust.
Yeah. So in my research and work, the formula is the same for negative and positive, unfortunately. Okay. That's why you have to be super attuned to how you do it. What is the impact? And we measured brand loyalty, right? If you think about the 0 point, okay, negative here and positive here, okay, if you are creating a negative emotional experience, okay, actually we have some proof that the negative impact is larger than the positive impact. Okay, so you want to be very, very careful, and to fix that, to correct that and bring it back to the positive side, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but the formula, the math is the same. It's an emotional experience, right? I have a blog. It's called 2 Weeks Notice, a touch of emotional relevance every couple of weeks. So there's one blog that I did exactly about that. Okay, that the brand recognition, the loyalty is impacted to both sides. Yeah. I want to throw something out there that is related to what we were talking about. Of course, we created with our methodology at AFZ. That's the name of the company. We created a relationship, a emotional relevance relationship meter. Okay, 1 to 5, and we base it on something very interesting and I think very cool. And I start a lot of my speaking conversations with that question. I want you to think about one of your clients for a second, and Mike, play along. Think about one of your clients, and please, a lot of people think about a company. No, a person. Okay, when I say a client, think about a person.
That's a huge lesson right there. Yeah,
not the name of the company. Now, if you call them right now on their cell phone, would they see your name on the screen or would they see a number? If you call them right now on their cell phone and they see your name there, would they pick up? Would they want to pick up? And here's the last one that kind of ties to what we talked about. If you call them on their cell phone, assuming you have their cell phone, because number one on the relationship meter, meaning I don't have their cell phone number. We just met. I have their office number, email, right? That's where I start. Okay. But assuming you have their cell phone, you call, they see your name. What do they feel? With emotional relevance, we teach ways to get to a point where you call, they see your number, they feel something positive, and they want to pick up. Okay, and I do it every talk that I do. I pick up the phone randomly and I call one of my clients. Okay, and I know. I take sometimes, they don't pick up because they're on a plane or something. I don't know, but usually they call me back right back. So, but it's something to think about, Mike.
Yeah, I love that test, and I think I always mention that on social media and stuff too. My test is sort of like if you added them on your favorite social media channel, would they recognize your name, face, and would they accept that request? No questions asked, right? Or do they have to do a deep dive background to remember who you are? But I love adding that part of the feeling. What's the feeling people get when they see your name or your company? That's huge. All right, now we need to talk and go deeper into the sales call here a little bit. So in our behavior section, I want to ask you specifically, is there things we can do on a sales call, or are there things we can do in important conversations? I always kind of classify a sales call as really any important conversation. We're all selling, whether it's a manager to an employee or a spouse to a partner or something, if we're having an important conversation, what should we do to be emotionally relevant?
Yeah, it's a great question. Mike, you and I have known each other for about 40 minutes now, including the 7 minutes we talked before, right?
Yeah.
By the way, do you have kids?
I do not have kids.
Okay. Where do you live, by the way?
Kansas City?
Missouri or Kansas?
I am on the Kansas side currently, but moving to the Missouri side.
Oh, okay. So best ribs place in town?
Oh, so you know a little bit about Kansas City. That's good. I am not a rib guy, but I am a barbecue guy. I'm gonna go Q39.
I've been there actually. Q39 with a former NFL player who played for Kansas City.
Nice.
So I want to make it quickly interesting for you. I don't know if you noticed your body language and I could tell because I am trained in that. Okay.
Yeah.
When I ask you about kids, you felt a little bit uncomfortable for 1 second. I'm reaching here, but I'm, and it's okay to feel a little uncomfortable because we go, mind you, corporate America is giving us some guidelines and dense moves, right? God forbid we talk about emotions or relationships,
right? Yeah.
at work. But if we need something, okay. I love kind of instigating a little, walking that thin line of a little uncomfortable. But once you go through that threshold, okay, then you start talking about food. You start talking about barbecue. You started thinking about that place. Okay, I happen to be there. I happen to be there. Now we related to that. Now, before you respond, here is something interesting. Everybody here is listening. I urge you, when you talk with your colleagues, your teams, and whoever you're talking to, I do this exercise a lot. You bring two people and say, tell me something about you, personal, that probably nobody here knows. Whatever it is, as deep as you feel comfortable. Some people say, oh, I love my coffee. Some people say, I just lost my grandmother a month ago and she was very close to me. I got a lot of stuff. But here is the psychology behind it. Once one person says something about themselves, it is proven that we, the listeners, want to reciprocate with something related to that. Okay?
Right.
So when you are in sales meetings, you might want to start with sharing something because they will have the tendency to reciprocate. And that's that threshold, initial threshold that you're going to go through. Open up. Once you're there, that's it. Now we can talk about other things.
I love that. And I'll start with that. So the first thing that came to mind for me is, you're right. I think we teach salespeople a lot to ask questions or to look around the room and find something emotionally relevant or ask a question about them personally, but we don't start with sharing. And I think, one of the things about getting to honesty and the way we sell here at Sandler is if we want them to be open and honest and we want to lower these barriers so that they share the real issues with us, we got to be willing to do the same thing. We can't say, oh, we're never going to talk about price or we're not going to tell you what it charges but we expect you to share your budget first. That's not fair. Like, let's both reciprocate. And I love the idea of starting with something that they can connect to, because once they feel like it's okay to be personal, you're setting an example and you're setting the tone for the sales meeting. The second thing I love is what you mentioned about when you asked me about kids. I did give an awkward pause. One, because this is a public podcast interview. And I think in sales calls, there's the same thing where they might take a minute and go, I don't know this person yet. Do I want to share this? Is this meeting being recorded? Are there other people on the line listening? Is my boss going to hear this later? All of those change their number of answers. But what I love about what you did is you paid attention to that and you changed your tactic. So many salespeople just ignore that awkwardness, or they try to push through it and get a further answer to that, where what you need to do is you need to go around that one. Say, okay, I paid attention. I watched, there was something awkward there. I can maybe come back to it later, but let me establish some trust and other things first, because it looks like I touched a rail. And rather than poke the bear, let me go around and
see,
and
your level of what you just described shows your high level of emotional intelligence, your EQ. Okay. You paid attention to that. You accepted my challenge, even though we didn't plan for it. So I want to tell you, and please, anybody who's listening right now, if there's a time to write something down, it's now. Cultivate the relationship, not the opportunity. Cultivate the relationship, not the opportunity. The opportunity will come. Cultivate, get to know the person, be vulnerable, and let them know you. Because it's all based on trust. I can tell you that I don't know a percentage, but a lot of salespeople that we talk to, that you talk to, I'm sure, when they come selling, okay, they don't know really what the client wants to buy.
Yeah.
And if we don't establish that trust level, that openness level, okay, to get to the real need, the real challenges, the real aspirations of what they want, okay, only then we know what to sell. And there's a big difference between selling what we came to sell versus selling what they want to buy. So cultivate the relationship and not the opportunity.
Okay, I think we nailed the behavior bucket. So now I'm going to ask you about technique, tips, tools, tactics. Do you have any favorite questions, or do you find any questions more relevant or more powerful, or does it completely depend on the situation and the people interacting?
So, you know what, let me tackle the situation first. You know how when you go to a boardroom and you present, okay, or you, pitch, right? Sales pitch, sales presentation. There are certain rules in that room. You're expected to behave in a certain way and not say things that you're not supposed to say. Okay, now take that, and the meeting is over, and now you happen to walk out to the parking lot with one of the potential buyers. You got friendly during the meeting, you met a couple of times online. Now you go out, and maybe it's not a super senior person. And how many times we've all been there? Mike, we've all been there where, dude, did you see that guy during the meeting? And now you open up different rules, completely different ball game.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. How do I get there?
Right.
I'm constantly thinking, how do I get to the parking lot conversation? Now, you talked about tips and approaches. Here's first tip. Stop calling it a sales pitch or a sales presentation or a sales demo. Why? Emotional relevance is a lot based on two-way channel of communication. Okay.
Love it.
When you pitch, you're pitching, somebody's being pitched to. When you present, it's a lot of here psychology, but that's how it is. When you demo, right, you're showing the technology to somebody who's watching, right? So let me make it even more relevant. When we're younger, we go to an interview. You're expected to dress, right? Dress the part, print your resume. There's an interviewer, there's an interviewee. It's kind of one way. You're supposed to answer the questions. It's an interview, okay? But if you were to go to an interview today, Mike, or if I were to go to an interview, we probably have lunch with somebody and we have a conversation. Just a conversation. That's the level you want to get to. So you start by, when you send the invite for the technology demo, don't call it a demo. Call it technology walkthrough, okay? Or solution experience. Call it whatever you want. By the way, here's another tip for creating that togetherness. You know how many times I've gone through a technology solution walkthrough in a room and I literally slid throughout the mouse. Mr. Client, you go through it, you experience it. You can do the same thing online, right? When you share your screen, now you give somebody the control. You go ahead, you go and book this, or you go through that data analysis, whatever it is. Let them experience that. By the way, here's another little tip for online that relates to emotional relevance and the feeling of togetherness. I don't know if Teams has it, but I know I saw it at Zoom. You know, on Zoom, on the security button, you can actually lock the room.
Yeah.
Okay. So imagine we start a call and we're 6 people. and I'm the MC of the call. And as we start, oh, everybody here? Okay, great. Let me just go ahead and click on the security here and lock the room so nobody bothers us. All of a sudden, we created a virtual sense of togetherness. Okay, all these little things that set that infrastructure, the emotional infrastructure, if you may.
Yeah. Well, you do need that safe space in order to connect and be vulnerable, right? Even if it's it can be privacy sometimes, but it's that intellectual and emotional safety to have an honest conversation.
Absolutely, and especially at the beginning. I want to read you a quick quote from one of my favorite movies of all time. It's Patch Adams.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with Patch Adams. For me, it's the father of emotional relevance, because what he did, and let me quote it, he called it the hello experiment. If you remember in the movie where he did it with that old lady, and he kind of, rolled down from that pole and surprised her for a second.
Yeah.
Right. And then she walked away, and then she turned around and she smiled. I got it, right? I got to her. And he said, what we're trying to do is to break through programmed response by changing normal parameters and getting a new emotional response from the person. The first element, so emotional relevance has 3 elements, 3 pillars. The first one is stand out. Stand out. I had a professor in school, my bachelor. He used to come every class with a different tie. And he said, one day you'll remember that professor with the different ties. I don't remember his name. And he said, you probably don't remember his name. But like Maya Angelou said, right? You remember how people made you feel. That goes back to what I said. When you go through an emotional experience, it's engraved in our mind. Okay? People might watch this, Mike, and say, oh, yeah, that guy, he got excited and he actually made Mike feel a little uncomfortable. But they'll remember, right? And they will seek for that. Same thing with our clients. Same thing with our clients. You are absolutely right. We are all product of that westernized, modernized world. We're supposed to bound by these rules. I can't just come and embarrass you in front of everybody, right? If I tippy-toe around it, just like we did before, and it takes time and practice, and you feel uncomfortable. Many of my clients, when I tell them, we working on how to approach and what to ask, they feel uncomfortable. I'm usually not asking this. I'm usually not sharing this. Yes, I know it takes some guts. It takes some to get outside your comfort zone. But this is how you stand out. This is how you stand out. Zappo's 11 core values, I don't remember which number, maybe number 3 or 7, said, be happy and some weirdness. Have some weirdness. Okay. For the exact, in the book, Delivering Happiness, they talk about it for the exact reasons. If you're different a little, they will remember you positively, hopefully, not different, Yeah. So, yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Once again, we're talking with Alon Zaibert, and it's alonzaibert.com. And it's all about emotional relevance. So like you said, he invented the term. If you just Google emotional relevance, you will find him, and you can book him for speaking at your next conference, or reach out to him for coaching and consulting as well. That would be awesome. And I wanted to get to know you a little bit better, make this emotionally relevant for our audience. How about that? At this point in your career, how do you define success?
You got me. I gave a speaking engagement a couple months ago. Look, I'm tearing, and I don't care, but because...
Yeah, do it.
A couple months ago, I gave a speaking engagement in New York. It was a group of people. And after the talk, people were gathering and talking. And then I came by, people came and said, thank you. And I came by, it was kind of mingling and happy hour vibe kind of. And there was a group of men standing there and talking. And I came and talked, and they asked me some questions. And one of them I asked, so tell me about you a little. Where are you from? And, et cetera. And then somehow, very quickly, Mike, and you can already tell that I'm me, and we got to talk a little bit personal. And he shared with me that he got divorced a couple of years ago, and it's been hard. And I shared with him that I also got divorced 3 years ago, and it's First year was, hard and emotional, etc. And I looked him up. I looked at him, and I said to him, "Can I give you a hug?" And I reached in, and it was a heartfelt hug, and really like hug. Now, mind you, we are standing here right next to us, a group of 7 or 8 men who are watching this. You can tell by their looks and their vibes. They all would love to get a similar hug, conceptual hug, right?
Yeah.
But they kind of feel uncomfortable because they're not used to it. Okay. We keep talking for another 45 minutes or so. I'm about to leave. As I'm about to leave, that guy walks over and says, "Here's my business card. Look at it and thank you." And I look on the business card and it says, "Thank you for the hug. I needed that." That's success for me.
Love it.
When I get those notes every now and then, text messages, "Hey, I met with a client. I did this, just like you said, and it worked." Or, I called my client and whatever. Those, for me to impact other people, to get that, for me, that's my definition of success.
Love it. Now, this next one is also going to be an emotionally relevant question for you. We're hitting these like gangbusters, but I always like to ask people what the next goal for them is. Or I know that you are going back home, so do you want to talk about that? And what's the next thing that is big on your plate that maybe we can help you with, or maybe you just want to share and put something out there for us?
Thank you. My next big thing is to do more and bigger speaking engagements. Every time I do that, I connect more emotionally with people and I see the impact, and it's great. So today in my work, my consulting takes the majority part of my my work. I would love to change that and be more on stages for bigger crowds. Online, face-to-face, doesn't matter. Home is Israel, and it's interesting times right now for that. I'm going there in a few days to visit. I have 2 kids over there. I have family over there. I have a girlfriend over there. So it's interesting times. We don't need to get into the whole world peace goals right now, but it's definitely emotionally relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, and I share as much as you want, but if I feel like a lot of people are feeling that's emotionally relevant to them these days, do you have any tips on maybe how we process that or how we help other people when they're emotionally struggling? It feels like you might have some insight into this.
Yeah, thanks. 3 years ago, I had some anxiety attacks. And before that, if you had told me that somebody had an anxiety attack, I would say, in my mind, just take 2 Advil. That's what is it? That's how we are taught in this, again, modern westernized world. But then I've gone through that, and it's real. It's real. And what I learned also about me through the process, and I got some help and therapy, and is that I don't know how to ask for support or help. And even when I do, I don't know how to accept it. And I found out a lot of my friends don't know either, because support or ask for help is considered weakness, right? And a lot of my executive coaching that I do with my clients, we get to a point where I ask them, and I go through with them, what do you need? Ask, go ahead. But we first need to explore what your needs are. Okay, so in those situations, and especially today with what's going on in the world, I'll say just a couple of things. One, people ask me all the time, and I say it is not an Israeli-Palestinian issue. It is good versus evil. Period. There's no history related. There's nothing. It's good versus evil. The only good news about all this, and I heard this reporter say the other day, they're showing their real face right now. Evil shows their real face. So the world is, looking at it. The other thing is, I got a lot of people calling me, asking me what you just asked. And I say, just talk. Just seek. Ask the questions, Google, but talk. Talk to your friends and ask. Don't assume. If you're watching TV, somebody told me today, one of our clients, "Oh, I watched on the news this," and I said, "Okay, which channel?"
Right. Which news?
There, right? So that's the only thing I would say is talk, converse, ask, challenge, just be out there. Don't hold it and assume. Don't assume and hold it in and just go with it. That's it.
Well, we have an awesome Sandler trainer, James Abraham from Israel and stuff. So maybe I'll make an introduction for you to chat while you're over there too. Doing amazing work, and we love supporting him and getting him to come over here and help support us when we need it as well. So awesome. I appreciate you sharing there, but we should probably end on positive notes. So we can leave with a good positive emotional connection here. How about your favorite quote, motto, or mantra?
So I mentioned Patch Adams earlier, but really the quote that has been driving me, it was that Maya Angelou quote, right? That she said that she's learned that people will forget what you said. Right? People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Whether she knew the psychology or the science behind it, I don't know. Whether she just knew it because that's how you feel. Okay? But people will never, ever forget how you made them feel. How many times you meet somebody that you don't remember where you met, but when you see him and you meet them, that vibe, that energy, that feel of what they made you feel back then is in there. That's what's engraved us. So Maya Angelou definitely never forget how people will make you feel. So to tie it to how we started, how do you want your client to feel?
I love it. Great stuff today. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you did, share that with somebody that you think needs to hear it. Zaibert.com. Link in the comments and show notes below, or Google Emotional Relevance. For more information on Sandler, you can go to Sandler.com, click on the free resources tab, or join us for the Sandler Summit in Orlando, Florida, coming up March 19th and 20th in 2024. So check that out. We'd love to connect emotionally and in person if you can join us in Orlando. Until next time, whatever you are, be a good one. That's what I always say. We'll see you next time.